Hi, YouTube. This is educational content. We will be reviewing a true crime case. Please note that we are reading a criminal indictment. We are not promoting any kind of behavior, just reviewing a criminal indictment for educational purposes. Again, this is educational content, and we are reviewing a true crime case. Let's go. Guys, we have a major update in the Matthew Perry case. And the biggest update is that we're finally going to trial. And for those that don't know what happened to Matthew Perry, I'm sure a lot of people do, but Matthew Perry, of course, who played the beloved role of Chandler Bing on Friends, passed away on October 28, 2023 at the age of 54. The official autopsy cited acute effects of ketamine as the cause, with drowning, coronary artery disease, and the effects of buprenorphine listed as contributing factors. In 2024, 5 individuals were charged relating to Matthew Perry's death, indirectly or directly. Those individuals, his personal assistant, the first person that was charged was Kenneth Iwamasa, the assistant who later pled guilty to conspiracy to contribute ketamine and admitted to administering it to Matthew Perry. The second person charged was Dr. Mark Chavez, a physician involved. He entered a plea agreement and subsequently pled guilty. The third person that was charged was another doctor by the name of Dr. Salvador Plasencia. He pled guilty in 2025 to multiple counts of illegally distributing ketamine. He faces up to 40 years in prison, a substantial fine, and had to surrender his medical license. He remains free on bond pending sentencing on December 3rd, 2025. And the fourth person charged in this, Jasveen Sangha. Jasveen Sangha, who is dubbed the Ketamine Queen, has pled not guilty and is awaiting trial, potentially facing a life sentence if convicted. The fifth person is Eric Fleming. Eric Fleming is a television director, a longtime acquaintance of Perry, who acted as a middleman, obtaining batches of K for Sangha that were eventually administered to Perry's assistant. He pled guilty to conspiracy and distribution resulting in death, and he could face up to 25 years in prison. Eric Fleming was the program director of the Bel Air Treatment Center, the Red Door. Brooke Mueller, who also was questioned during this investigation into Matthew Perry, she dated a man by the name of William Cooney. William Cooney died at this treatment center where Eric Fleming was the program director. He died of a drug overdose at this facility. So Eric Fleming, program director, but also street dealer at a rehab center. This goes deep. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. So 5 individuals that worked together that ultimately resulted in the death of Matthew Perry. But maybe the one individual that has not pled guilty and will be going to trial is Jasveen Sangha, who is represented by Mark Garagos. Her trial is scheduled for September 23rd of 2025. We're literally a couple weeks away from it, guys. Now, we have to get a good idea of this ketamine queen and the ins and outs of this situation. But please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe. Make sure you guys are telling me what you think in the chat. Jasveen Sangha is a dual British and US citizen. After several attorney lawyer changes, Jasveen is finally ready to go to trial. Mark Garagos recently made a statement about her involvement with Matthew Perry in this situation. He said, "My client never met Matthew Perry, has nothing to do with Matthew Perry," pushing back against the prosecution's framing of the case. It should be noted that Jasveen has had at least 4 different lawyers and has finally settled on Mark Garagos. All the other defendants that have been charged are cooperating with law enforcement and have made their pleas. Jasveen is the only one going to trial in September next month, September 23rd of 2025. In order for us to fully have a good scope of this situation, we have to go back to the charging document, which is going to be the next part of this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments as you are reviewing this with me. Let's go. So as of June 2024, Yasmina again is facing very serious charges. One count of conspiracy to distribute K, one count of maintaining a rug-involved premise, one count of possession with intent to distribute methamphetamines, one count of possession with intent to distribute K, 5 counts of distribution of K, including at least one of the counts of distribution resulting in death. And of course, that would be the death of Matthew Perry. Okay? I want us to look at this superseding indictment because it is very telling. And this is, again, the superseding indictment for Jasveen Sangha. Introductory allegation, at times relevant to this first superseding indictment. Defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as aka the Ketamine Queen, was a resident of North Hollywood, California, who used her North Hollywood residence, the Sangha Stash House, to store, package, and distribute narcotics, including ketamine and methamphetamines. Defendant Salvador Plasencia, aka Dr. P, and co-conspirator Mark Chavez were medical doctors licensed to practice in the state of California. Defendant Plasencia and co-conspirator Chavez had previously applied for and obtained authorization from the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, to dispense, administer, and prescribe narcotics and other controlled substances so long as such prescriptions were for legitimate medical purposes. Now, for those, again, just a reminder, both of these individuals have pled guilty and some are waiting to be sentenced, okay? Ketamine, a Schedule III controlled substance that was FDA approved for induction and maintenance of general anesthesia during surgical procedures. Due to the medical risk associated with ketamine, it was widely accepted in the medical community that a healthcare professional was required to monitor a patient who had just been given ketamine. Due to the medical risks associated with ketamine, it was widely accepted in the medical community that a healthcare professional was required to monitor a patient who had just been given ketamine. While monitoring a patient who had been administered ketamine, it was necessary for the healthcare professional to have access to certain life-saving equipment, including a defibrillator, a supply of supplemental oxygen, equipment to monitor the patient's heart rate and breathing, and medication to ensure patient safety. Defendant Sangha similarly knew that the unsupervised and improper use of ketamine can be deadly. As alleged in count 3, on August 26, 2019, defendant Sangha sold ketamine to a customer named Victim CM, who died of a drug overdose within a day of the drug deal. As a result, a family member of Victim CM informed defendant Sangha of the death in a text message stating, "The ketamine you sold my brother K'd him. It's listed as the cause of death." Within days of receiving this text, defendant Sangha confirmed that ketamine can kill by conducting a Google search for "Can ketamine be listed as a cause of death?" Co-conspirator Kenneth Iwamasa was a resident of Los Angeles County and employed as a live-in personal assistant to Victim MP. Now, for those, this is Matthew Perry, okay? Co-conspirator Iwamasa had never received medical training and knew little, if anything, about administering and or treating patients with controlled substances, as defendant Plasencia well knew. Co-conspirator Eric Fleming was an acquaintance of the victim, Matthew Perry, and a resident of Hearthrow, California. Defendant Plasencia co-conspired Iwamasa, co-conspirator Fleming, and co-conspirator Chavez were aware that victim Matthew Perry had a history of drug use and addiction, and that victim Matthew Perry had sought on multiple occasions assistance to treat his drug addiction and to maintain his sobriety. Beginning on the date unknown and continuing until at least on or about October 30th, 2023, in Los Angeles County, within the Central District of California and elsewhere, defendants Plasencia and Sangha conspired with co-conspirators Iwamasa, Fleming, and Chavez, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, to knowingly and intentionally distribute ketamine, a Schedule III controlled substance, in violation of Title 21 United States Code, Section 841A1, 841B, 1EI. This is the matter and means of the conspiracy. The object of the conspiracy was to be accomplished in substance as follows. Co-conspirator Iwamasa would communicate with other co-conspirators, including defendant Plasencia and co-conspirator Fleming, about purchasing K to distribute to the victim Matthew Perry. The co-conspirators used cryptic messaging applications and coded language to discuss the drug deals, including referring to the bottles of K as Dr. Pepper, cans, and bots. After discussing ketamine orders with co-conspirator Iwamasa, co-conspirator Fleming, and defendant Plasencia would communicate with their ketamine source of supply, including defendant Sangha and co-conspirator Chavez, respectively, about inventory, price, and availability of ketamine to sell to co-conspirator Iwamasa and victim Matthew Perry. Defendant Sangha would operate and maintain the Sangha Stash House in North Hollywood, California, which defendant Sangha would use to store, package, and distribute narcotics, including providing ketamine to co-conspirator Fleming so that co-conspirator Fleming could sell it to the victim Matthew Perry. Co-conspirator Iwamasa would meet with co-conspirators, including defendant Plasencia and co-conspirator Fleming, to purchase ketamine for victim Matthew Perry. Defendant Plasencia would distribute ketamine to co-conspirators Iwamasa and victim Matthew Perry outside the usual course of professional practice without a legitimate medical purpose, including by teaching co-conspirator Iwamasa how to inject victim Matthew Perry with ketamine, selling ketamine to co-conspirator Iwamasa to inject into victim Matthew Perry, injecting ketamine into victim Matthew Perry without the proper safety equipment, and failing to properly monitor victim Matthew Perry after defendant Plasencia injected Matthew Perry with ketamine. Using the instructions and syringes provided by defendant Plasencia, co-conspirator Iwamasa would inject Matthew Perry with the ketamine that was sold to co-conspirator Iwamasa by defendant Plasencia, co-conspirator Fleming, and defendant Sangha. On October 28, 2023, using syringes provided by the defendant Plasencia, co-conspirator Iwamasa injected victim Matthew Perry with multiple doses of the ketamine he received from co-conspirator Fleming and defendant Sangha, resulting in the death and serious bodily injury of victim Matthew Perry. Overt acts. On or about the following dates, in furtherance of the conspiracy and to accomplish its object, defendants Plasencia and Sangha and others known and unknown to the grand jury committed various overt acts within the Central District of California and elsewhere, including but not limited to the following. Defendant Plasencia and co-conspirator Chavez conspired to sell ketamine to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 1. On September 3rd, 2023, after learning that victim Matthew Perry was interested in obtaining K Defendant Plasencia contacted co-conspirator Chavez about purchasing K so that he could sell the K to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 2. On September 30th, 2023, in text messages with co-conspirator Chavez, defendant Plasencia discussed how much to charge Matthew Perry for K, stating, "I wonder how much this moron will pay, and let's find out." Overt Act number 3. On September 30th, 2023, co-conspirator Chavez confirmed that he was willing to sell K to defendant Plasencia and then sent a photograph of K lozenges that co-conspirator Chavez had previously obtained by writing a fraudulent prescription in the name of VB without VB's knowledge or consent. The fraudulent VB prescription. Now, we don't know, I don't know who VB is. That is not a name that is knowledgeable to me, but I'm assuming would have been either a patient or maybe somebody of one of these doctors. Overt Act number 4. On September 30th, 2023, in text messages, co-conspirator Chavez, defendant Plasencia, arranged to meet in Costa Mesa, California, so that defendant Plasencia could obtain liquid K and the fraudulent VB prescription from co-conspirator Chavez. Overt Act number 5. On September 30th, 2023, co-conspirator Chavez met with defendant Plasencia in or around Costa Mesa, California, within the Central District of California, and sold defendant Plasencia at least 4 vials of liquid K lozenges from the fraudulent VB prescription, gloves, and syringes. Defendant Plasencia leaves K with co-conspirator Iwasama and teaches co-conspirator Iwasama how to inject K. Overt Act number 6. On September 30th, 2023, in text messages to victim Matthew Perry, defendant Plasencia confirmed he planned to leave vials of K with victim Matthew Perry for self-administration, stating, "I will give you first dose if you would like and leave the supplies with you." Overt Act number 7. On September 30th, 2023, after injecting Matthew Perry with K at victim Matthew Perry's residence in the Central District of California, defendant Plasencia gave instructions to co-conspirator Iwasama about how to inject K and left K in syringes with co-conspirator Iwasama so that co-conspirator Iwasama could administer K to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 8. On September 30th, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama paid defendant Plasencia approximately $4,500 in cash for the K referenced in Overt Act number 7. Overt Act number 9. On September 30th, 2023, defendant Plasencia sent a text message to co-conspirator Chavez describing the meeting with victim Matthew Perry, stating it was like a bad movie, and confirming that defendant Plasencia would send co-conspirator Chavez payment soon. In early October 2023, defendant Plasencia sells additional K to co-conspirator Iwasama. Overt Act number 10. On October 2nd, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama sent defendant Plasencia a text message in coded language stating that co-conspirator Iwasama wanted to purchase vials of K and not injection sessions, want to end up with 8 bottles of Dr. Pepper, not just 8 sessions. So the word Dr. Pepper, again, being used there as a code. Overt Act number 11. On October 2nd, 2023, in response to the text messages described in Overt Act number 10, defendant Plasencia confirmed he understood. Overt Act number 12. On October 2nd, 2023, ahead of a planned meeting between defendant Plasencia and victim Matthew Perry, defendant Plasencia told co-conspirator Chavez, "If today goes well, we may have repeat business." Overt Act number 13. On October 2nd, 2023, in text messages to defendant Plasencia, co-conspirator Chavez discussed selling ketamine to victim Matthew Perry, stating, "You should sell him the trochee," referring to the fraudulent VB prescription. When they were speaking on K, that's what they're referring to. "You should sell him the trochee," referring to the fraudulent VB prescription. Overt Act number 14. On October 2nd, 2023, defendant Plasencia traveled to victim Matthew Perry, resident, to inject him with the ketamine and sell additional ketamine, including K lozenges, the fraudulent VB prescriptions. Overt Act number 15. On October 2nd, 2023, in text messages, defendant Plasencia updated co-conspirator Chavez about his visit to victim Matthew Perry's residence, including stating that he had intended to administer 360 milligrams of K to victim Matthew Perry over the span of approximately an hour. Overt Act number 16. On October 2nd, 2023, defendant Plasencia injected victim Matthew Perry with K and sold co-conspirator Iwasama liquid K and K lozenges from the fraudulent VB prescription in exchange for cash. Overt Act number 17. On October 2nd, 2023, in text messages with co-conspirator Chavez, defendant Plasencia discussed needing additional ketamine to sell to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 18. On October 2nd, 2023, to obtain more K to sell to victim Matthew Perry, co-conspirator Chavez placed an order for 10 vials of K from a wholesale distributor of controlled substances. Wholesale distributor, and they are labeling this wholesale distributor as Wholesale K Distributor 1. Overt Act number 19. On October 2nd, 2023, co-conspirator Chavez submitted a license authorization form to a different wholesale distributor of controlled substances, Wholesale Ketamine Distributor number 2, for the purposes of obtaining additional K to sell to victim Matthew Perry. Among other things, the license authorization form contained false statements, including that the K will not be sold to a third party, distributed, or used in any other purpose. Overt Act number 20. On October 4th, 2023, in text messages using coded language, co-conspirator Iwasama told defendant Plasencia he needed to purchase additional bottles of K, stating, "I will need to get more cans of Dr. Pepper from you today. I can come to you to make it convenient." Overt Act number 21. On October 4th, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama told defendant Plasencia that he had successfully injected victim Matthew Perry with K, noting, "Found the sweet spot, but trying different places led to running out of K." So here, Kenneth Iwasama, again, the assistant of Matthew Perry, was having this conversation with the provider, which again is a doctor by the name of Dr. Plasencia. Okay, I found the sweet spot, but trying different places because that led me to run out of K. Overt Act number 22. On October 4th, 2023, in response to the text message reference in Overt Act number 21, defendant Plasencia advised that he could deliver more K to co-conspirator Iwasama and said, "I have ideas on how to get consistent results." So the very own doctor was saying this, right? Like, money is the root of all evil, guys, because clearly this doctor was liking the fact that he was going to get paid very quickly, and he participated in this, and he supplied, and he made sure that the assistant had it for Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 23. On October 4, 2023, in response to co-conspirator Iwasama's text messages requesting to purchase K now, defendant Plasencia stated he was currently retrieving 4 bottles from his source, referring to co-conspirator Chavez. Overt Act number 24. On October 4, 2023, defendant Plasencia traveled to Irvine, California to purchase 8 vials of liquid K from defendant Chavez. Overt Act number 25. On October 4, 2023, defendant Plasencia injected victim Matthew Perry with K and sold multiple vials of K to co-conspirator Iwasama. Overt Act number 26. On October 4, 2023, in text messages to co-conspirator Chavez, defendant Plasencia asked whether co-conspirator Chavez was having any trouble finding more K in case this continues with this guy, noting, "I think we would be best served not having him look elsewhere," because defendant Plasencia wanted to be his go-to. Overt Act number 27. On October 4th, 2023, co-conspirator Chavez sent a text message to defendant Plasencia stating he was working on getting more K. Overt Act number 28. On October 4th, 2023, to obtain more K to sell to victim Matthew Perry, co-conspirator Chavez submitted an order for 10 vials of K to wholesale ketamine distributor 2. Overt Act number 29. On October 4th, 2023, to obtain more K to sell to victim Matthew Perry, co-conspirator Chavez completed a Know Your Customer DEA questionnaire and submitted it to wholesale ketamine distributor 1. Knowing the document contained materially false statements, including co-conspirator Chavez responding no to the question, do you sell any products to other practitioners? Overt Act number 30th. On October 6, 2023, in response to co-conspirators Iwazama advertising defendant Plasencia that he needed more ketamine because he only had one left, defendant Plasencia traveled to victim Matthew Perry's residence and sold one or more vials of K to co-conspirator Iwasama in exchange for cash. Defendant Plasencia sells K to co-conspirator Iwasama at 12:30 a.m. on the public street in Santa Monica, California. Overt Act number 31. On October 7, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama sent text messages to defendant Plasencia seeking more K and asked if he could pay with something besides cash because it's hard to get to the bank to fly with all that's going on, which happens so fast. Overt Act number 32. On October 7, 2023, at approximately 11:29 p.m., in response to text messages from co-conspirator Iwasama, defendant Plasencia confirmed that he had 2 bottles of K to sell and agreed to meet in Santa Monica, California, stating, I'm at 3rd Street Promenade now. If you would like to meet now. Overt Act number 33. On October 7, 2023, at approximately 11:47 p.m., co-conspirator Iwasama told defendant Plasencia that he sent $3,000 by electronic payment, and I'm bringing 3 more leaving now. Overt Act number 34. On October 8th, 2023, at approximately 12:30 a.m., defendant Plasencia met with co-conspirator Iwasama on a street corner in Santa Monica and sold co-conspirator Iwasama K in exchange for $6,000 in cash. Overt Act number 35. On October 9, 2023, after co-conspirator Chavez received K delivered from wholesale ketamine distributor 1, co-conspirator Chavez sent a text message to defendant Plasencia stating, are we still meeting tomorrow? We got the shipment today, 1 box of 10 vials. Overt Act number 36. On October 9, 2023, in response to the text message referenced in Overt Act number 35, defendant Plasencia stated, great, yes, I'm going to probably come to you midday. Defendant Plasencia injects victim Matthew Perry with ketamine in a parking lot in Long Beach, California. Overt Act number 37. On October 10, 2023, defendant Plasencia met with co-conspirator Chavez in Irvine, California, to purchase 10 vials of K, which defendant Plasencia intended to sell to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 38. On October 10, 2023, in text message, defendant Plasencia and co-conspirator Iwasama agreed to meet in Long Beach, California, so that defendant Plasencia could transfer more K to co-conspirator Iwasama. Overt Act number 39. October 10, 2023, defendant Plasencia met co-conspirator Iwasama and victim Matthew Perry in a parking lot in Long Beach, California, where defendant Plasencia injected victim Matthew Perry with ketamine while inside of a vehicle. While there, defendant Plasencia also provided additional vials of K to co-conspirator Iwasama in exchange for partial payment in cash. Defendant Plasencia continues to sell K to co-conspirator Iwasama and victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 40. On October 12, 2023, in text messages, co-conspirator Iwasama asked to purchase more K from defendant Plasencia and noted that he would pay defendant Plasencia the money he owed for K that defendant Plasencia already provided as referenced in Overt Act number 39. Overt Act number 41. On October 12, 2023, defendant Plasencia traveled to victim Matthew Perry's residence in Los Angeles County to sell additional K to co-conspirator Iwasama and victim Matthew Perry, for which co-conspirator Iwasama paid defendant Plasencia approximately $21,500 in cash. Overt Act number 42. On October 12, 2023, after defendant Plasencia injected victim Matthew Perry with a large dose of K that caused victim Matthew Perry to freeze up and his blood pressure to significantly spike, defendant Plasencia told co-conspirator Iwasama something to the effect of, "Let's not do that again," and nonetheless left additional vials of K with co-conspirator Iwasama for injecting Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 43. On October 13, 2023, in response to a text message from defendant Plasencia asking if co-conspirator Chavez would be interested in running K clinic with him, co-conspirator Chavez said, "Interesting," and said, "As long as we are doing things on the up and up and we can start ASAP, all done legally without any shady stuff. Having them come to the clinic will ensure this." Overt Act number 44. On October 13th, 2023, in response to defendant Plasencia's asking, "Oh, so you don't agree with the method I'm currently doing?" Co-conspirator Chavez stated, "It's not what I think, it's what an entity like the California Medical Board would view it, or the DEA." So you have these two doctors that are kind of linking with each other. Plasencia is like, "Listen, you don't like the way I'm doing stuff," and Chavez is like, We just got to be careful, right?" So it's like these doctors knew that they were doing something wrong overall, right? But of course, money was the motivation here. Money is the motivation. So what's going to stop them? Nothing. Not even the fact that they're risking their license and could case someone. Some of these individuals shouldn't have medical license. Overt Act number 45. On October 25th, 2023, despite less than a week earlier telling a patient at his clinic that victim Matthew Perry was too far gone and spiraling in addiction, defendant Plasencia placed an order of 10 vials of K from wholesale ketamine distributor 1 so that the defendant Plasencia could offer to sell the K to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 46. On October 27, 2023, in text messages, defendant Plasencia offered to sell additional K to co-conspirator Iwasama, stating, "I know you mentioned taking a break. I have been stocking up the meanwhile. I'm not sure when you guys plan to resume, but in case it's when I'm out of town this weekend, I have left supplies with the nurse of mine, and I can always let her know the plan. I'll be back in town Tuesday." Huh. So, like, this Dr. Plasencia messages Matthew Perry's assistant. It's like, "I know you guys are taking a break, but if you need a little, I got an assistant that can help you out, a nurse." Like, oh my God. I'm telling you, this is crazy. Now, this is when defendant Sangha, which is again Jasveen, aka the ketamine queen, she comes through here, okay? She comes on the scene of this indictment. Defendant Sangha and co-conspirator Fleming began selling K to co-conspirator Iwasama and victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 47. On October 10, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama sent a text message to co-conspirator Fleming seeking to purchase K, stating, "How much do you want per bottle and what is the nice tip you want?" So Fleming also comes in here. He is like a director, also in the Hollywood business. Overt Act number 48. On October 10, 2023, in response to the text message referenced in Overt Act 47, co-conspirator Fleming stated, "Perfect. And I'll bring to you and getting price now. I need some upfront to pay when I pick up and rest when I deliver." Overt Act number 49. On October 10, 2023, using the Signal encrypted message application, co-conspirator Fleming communicated with defendant Sangha about obtaining K, stating, "Hi Jazz, it's Eric. Let me know you're Addie. How many vials do you have available? How many vials do you have availability?" Overt Act number 50. On October 10th, 2023, using the Signal encrypted messaging application, Co-conspirator Fleming and defendant Sangha communicated about the type of price of ketamine that defendant Sangha had available for sale. Overt Act 51. On October 10, 2023, in text messages, co-conspirator Fleming told co-conspirator Iwasama that he could obtain vials of K for $300, sent a photograph of K he proposed selling, and requested a $1,000 broker fee. Overt Act number 52. On October 11, 2023, using the Signal encrypted message application, defendant Sangha told co-conspirator Fleming that her ketamine was high quality and offered a sample of the rug for victim Matthew Perry to try, stating, "It's unmarked, but it's amazing. And he takes one and try it, and I have more if he likes." Overt Act number 53. On October 11, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming sent a screenshot of defendant Sangha's message referenced in Overt Act number 52. Co-conspirator Iwasama stated, "Just got this from my person. She only deals with high-end celebrities. If it were not great stuff, she'd lose her business." Overt Act number 54. On October 12, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming contacted Sangha to obtain a sample of vial of K and advised defendant Sangha that the K was intended for victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 55. On October 12, 2023, after communicating with defendant Sangha about her ketamine supply, co-conspirator Fleming advised co-conspirator Iwasama that his hookup, that is, defendant Sangha, was able to get him the kind that is used for intermuscular. "I guarantee it's going to be amazing," and send a photograph of unlabeled, unmarked, clear glass vials of K to show co-conspirator Iwasama what they look like. And we could see in the picture, and it says, "This is what they look like. She sells them all day. She won't go less than 250. Let me see if I can borrow it to buy one. He CB tests. But if he likes it, which I'm confident he will, he has to pay me back." Overt Act number 56. On October 12, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming told co-conspirator Iwasama that he was willing to facilitate the rug deal but needed to make money, stating, "I wouldn't do it if there wasn't a chance of me making money for doing this." Overt Act number 57. On October 13, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming drove to the Sangha stash house in North Hollywood, California, and purchased K sample for victim Matthew Perry, which was contained inside an unlabeled, unmarked clear glass with a blue cap. Overt Act number 58. On October 13, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming drove to victim Matthew Perry's residence and delivered the sample K vial to co-conspirator Iwasama, knowing that co-conspirator Iwasama would be injecting victim Matthew Perry with the K. Defendant Sangha and co-conspirator Fleming sell 25 vials of K on October 14, 2023. Overt Act number 59. On October 13, 2023, a co-conspirator Fleming told co-conspirator Iwasama that he could obtain as many vials of K as co-conspirator Iwasama requested, stating, "Let me know how many, and I'll confirm what she can get. But as of now, she says she can fill any order." Overt Act number 60. On October 13, 2023, in response to the text message reference in Overt Act number 59, co-conspirator Iwasama told co-conspirator Fleming he would purchase 25 vials for $5,500 at $220 plus $500 for you for logistics. Overt Act number 61. On October 14, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming drove to victim Matthew Perry's residence located in Los Angeles County and collected cash from co-conspirator Iwasama. Overt Act number 62. On October 14, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming drove to the Sangha stash house, purchased 25 vials of K from defendant Sangha. Overt Act number 63. On October 14, 2023, after obtaining the ketamine reference in Overt Act number 62. Overt Act number 64, on October 23, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama sent a text message to co-conspirator Fleming, requested to purchase more K, stating, "Can we do the same as last time again over next 2 days?" Overt Act number 65, on October 23, 2023, in response to the text message reference in Overt Act number 64, co-conspirator Fleming confirmed that he could obtain more K, stating, "It will be same product. You want same amount? Put the 5,500 together ASAP. I'll come get it as soon as possible to get it all done tonight." Overt Act number 66. On October 23, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming traveled to victim Matthew Perry's residence, picked up approximately $6,000 in cash from co-conspirator Iwasama, which would be used to pay defendant Sangha for additional K. Defendant Sangha and co-conspirator Fleming sell K that co-conspirator Iwasama used to engage victim Matthew Perry, killing him. So the prosecutor is estimating that this this transaction right here would have essentially led to the death of Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 67, on October 24, 2023, based on information from defendant Sangha, co-conspirator Fleming sent text message updates to co-conspirator Iwasama about the delivery and timing of the K, including stating that defendant Sangha K source, which defendant Sangha referred to as the master chef and scientist, would make the supply available, and that the K was on its way to our girl, referring to Sangha. Overt Act number 68. On October 24, 2023, co-conspirator Fleming traveled to Sangha's stash house and purchased 25 vials of ketamine from defendant Sangha in exchange for cash. As part of the transaction, defendant Sangha included K lollipops as an add-on for the victim Matthew Perry large ketamine order. Overt Act number 71. On October 25th, 2023, defendant Sangha reached out to co-conspirator Fleming about anticipated future transfers of K to victim Matthew Perry, stating, "Please let me know if you think there will be another round because the scientist, he'll be gone as well. I'll have to know ahead of time to get that sorted out before we leave." Overt Act number 72. On October 25th, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama administered at least 6 shots of K to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 73. On October 26, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama administered at least 6 shots of K to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act number 74. On October 27, 2023, co-conspirator Iwasama administered at least 6 shots of K to victim Matthew Perry. Overt Act 75. On October 28, 2023, using syringes provided by defendant Plasencia, co-conspirator Iwasama injected Matthew Perry with at least 3 shots of K. Co-conspirator Iwasama received from co-conspirator Fleming and defendant Sangha, which resulted in the death and serious bodily injury of victim Matthew Perry. So again, Matthew Perry died on October 28, 2023, and he received his last dosage that day. And how did these co-conspirators, how did these people act after he died? Well, let's read. Overt Act number 72. On October 28, 2023, after she learned about victim Matthew Perry's death from news reports, defendant Sangha called co-conspirator Fleming using the Signal application to discuss the co-conspirators distancing themselves from selling K to victim Matthew Perry by, among other things, deleting digital evidence on their cell phones. Overt Act number 77. On October 23rd, 2023, defendant Sangha updated the setting on the Signal application to automatically delete her messages with co-conspirators Fleming and instructed co-conspirator Fleming, delete all our messages. And we can see a screenshot of this. Overt Act number 78. On October 30th, 2023, using the Signal encrypted messaging application, co-conspirator Fleming sent the following text message to defendant Sangha. Please call. Got more info and want to bounce ideas off of you. I'm 90% sure everyone is protected. I've never dealt with Matthew Perry, only his assistant. So the assistant was the enabler. Also, they're doing a 3-month tox screening. Does K stay in your system or is it immediately flushed out? Oh my goodness. So ketamine queen Jasveen Sangha is messaging this, okay, to Fleming and literally trying to cover her tracks. And it's interesting because she's making this argument here, which is exactly what her attorney Mark Garagos is saying. She never met Matthew Perry, directly. So she never gave him the drugs directly. But that doesn't really matter that she didn't directly inject him, but she made the deal to distribute, the rugs. And she wasn't supposed to have these things. I mean, the law was broken in so many levels here. Let's keep going. Count 2. Defendant Sangha, beginning on a date unknown, but not later than in or around June 14, 2019, and continuing to March 19, 2024, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as the Ketamine Queen, knowingly opened, leased, rented, used, and maintained a place that is the Sangha Stash House, located in North Hollywood, California, for the purposes of manufacturing, storing, distributing controlled substances, including meth, and a Schedule II controlled substance, and K, a Schedule III controlled substance. So that is the second count. Count 3. Defendant Sangha, on or about August 26, 2019, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as the Ketamine Queen, knowingly and intentionally distributed and willfully caused to be distributed K, a Schedule III controlled substance. Counts 4 through 10. On or about the following date in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Salvador Plasencia, also known as Dr. P, while acting and intending to act outside the usual course of professional practice and without a legitimate medical purpose, knowingly and intentionally distributed K, a Schedule III controlled substance. On the superseding indictment, they have the dates of when all of these distributions happen, which we read all those through the occurrence. I also think it's important to know that some of these people have now pled guilty, and some are awaiting sentencing. So the only one that pled not guilty was Jasveen Sangha, who clearly believes that she had no wrongdoing in this matter. Okay. Count 11, and this is pertaining to defendant Sangha. On or about October 13, 2023, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as the Ketamine Queen, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, each aiding and abetting to others, knowingly and intentionally distributed K, a Schedule III controlled substance. Counts 12. On or about October 14, 2023, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as the Ketamine Queen, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, each aiding and abetting the other, knowingly and intentionally distributed K, a Schedule III controlled substance. Count 13. On or about October 24, 2023, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as the Ketamine Queen, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, each aiding and abetting the other, knowingly and intentionally distributed K, a Schedule III controlled substance, the use of which resulted in the death and serious bodily injury of victim Matthew Perry on or about October 28, 2023. Count 14. On or about March 18, 2024, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen, also known as ketamine queen, knowingly and intentionally distributed K, a Schedule 3 controlled substance. Count 15. On or about March 19, 2024 in Los Angeles County, within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as the ketamine queen, knowingly and intentionally possess with intent to distribute at least 500 grams, that is approximately 1,409.7 grams of a mixture and substance containing detectable amounts of methamphetamine, a Schedule 2 controlled substance. Count 16. On or about March 19, 2024, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, defendant Jasveen Sangha, also known as the ketamine queen, knowingly and intentionally possessed with the intent to distribute K, a Schedule 3 controlled substance. Count 17, and this is pertaining to Dr. Plasencia. On or before February 27, 2024, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, and elsewhere, defendant Salvador Plasencia, also known as Dr. P, knowingly altered and falsified a document and record with the intent to impede, obstruct, and influence the investigation and proper administration of a matter within the jurisdiction of the United States and in relation to and in contemplation of such matter. Specifically, in response to a legal request to produce documents, defendant Plasencia provided a falsified document purportedly showing the medical treatment plan for victim Matthew Perry that included a list of specific medical services provided, maximum dosage of the K defendant Plasencia purportedly provided. So Dr. Plasencia faked a document, max dose 24 hours, 60 grams, when in fact, as defendant Plasencia then well knew, defendant Plasencia injected victim Matthew Perry with ketamine dosage far in excess of 60 milligrams, and victim Matthew Perry did not agree to purchase the listed medical treatments and instead agreed to purchase bottles of K from defendant Plasencia. Count 18, and this is pertaining to Dr. Plasencia. On or about before March 1st, 2024, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California, Salvador Plasencia, also known as Dr. P, knowingly altered and falsified documents and records with the intent to impede, obstruct, and influence the investigation and proper administration of a matter within the jurisdiction of the United States. Specifically, in response to a legal request to produce documents, defendant Plasencia provided falsified and altered treatment notes for victim Matthew Perry, including the following. In all notes, defendant Plasencia failed to document transfers of K for self-administration, when in fact, as defendant Plasencia well knew, he sold K to co-conspirator Kenneth Iwamasa and or victim Matthew Perry for self-administration at least 7 times in September and October of 2023. In notes dated October 1st, 2023, defendant Plasencia claimed that patient adamant, I leave K solution for later use, that he should be monitored by physician when undergoing treatment as a safety measure. Empty vials of used solution may be placed in waste bin, when in fact, as defendant Plasencia then well knew, defendant Plasencia offered to leave K vials with victim Matthew Perry and did in fact do so on or about September 30th, 2023. In notes dated October 7th, 2023, defendant Plasencia claimed that patient scheduled to meet for treatment session but was not present. In fact, as defendant Plasencia well knew at the time, defendant Plasencia arranged to meet co-conspirator Iwasama without Matthew Perry present at around midnight on October 7, 2023, to sell co-conspirator Iwasama ketamine in exchange for 6,000. And that meeting did in fact occurred on a public street in Santa Monica, California at approximately 12:30 a.m. on October 8, 2023. Again, guys, a trial is coming up for Jasveen Sangha, who pled not guilty. Her trial date is September 23rd, 2025. And I'm so here to cover this because I think it's important. In my opinion, I think Matthew Perry was an easy victim, just like Liam Payne and Michael Jackson. Very much targeted individual. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you guys on the next one.